Hello and welcome to The Cutting Room, the movie show from all the right movies. I'm John, and with me today it's Matt.
Hello.
And Westy.
Hello.
This is part 2 of our deep dive into The Thing, where we talk about the writing, the cast, and also the visuals in the film. If you've not seen the first part, you can get it here, but for now, it's on with the writing. The screenplay for The Thing was written by Bill Lancaster, and to this point, Bill had 2 screenwriting credits. The Bad News Bears and The Bad News Bears Go to Japan.
There's chocolate all over this ball.
Classic.
He had a famous dad as well, didn't he? Do you know who that was?
Burt Lancaster?
Burt?
He was the son of Burt Lancaster, the huge Hollywood star of the 50s.
I thought that was going to be a bit of a trick question. Not
right.
the same last name.
I'll say
Bette Midler or something.
Yeah.
Julie Andrews.
Well, when it came to writing The Thing, Lancaster had 2 sources to use as inspiration. The B-movie The Thing from Another World from 1951, and also the novel on which both movies are based. That's Who Goes There, a 1938 novella written by John W. Campbell Jr. Mm-hmm. So, in terms of The Thing then, how good or bad do we think the writing is? Matt?
I think for a straight-up genre film like this, I think it's excellent writing, and there's 2 aspects stand out for me. First of all, we mentioned that huge cast list, 12 characters in this. The film's like under 2 hours long, and it still manages to give them all very distinct personalities, which is no mean feat for that many. And after about half an hour, you are totally on board with all these characters, and you know who they are, and you understand the hierarchy at this outpost. So Gary is Commander B. You can see nobody respects him. Nobody really believes in him. You can see everyone implicitly just goes to MacReady for leadership, even though he doesn't want it. You can see, this character has a grudge for that character. These 2 are best friends. It's very efficient. It's very cleanly done. And one bit that stands out for me is MacReady's first scene where he's playing chess against his computer, which when he loses, he just pours the whiskey in it to blow it up, and that tells you everything you need to know about him, and it foreshadows the end of the film, because rather than accepting defeat, he'd rather destroy the computer, which he does at the end of the film. Rather than accept defeat, he's going to burn that base to the ground and freeze to death.
Bad loser, isn't he? MacReady.
Oh, he's really bad loser.
I like to think that was his very first game on that computer, and he's just knocked it straight away. He hasn't tried more than once.
Yeah.
Cheating bitch.
Yeah. Back in 1982 as well, that must have been worth $20,000.
Really expensive.
Cheating bitch. Yeah, I'd win now though. But the second thing in that writing, it's all the layers of ambiguity and the unanswered questions in this film. When exactly do Palmer and Norris get assimilated? When does it get to Blair? What's up with MacReady shredded long johns? What happens to Fuchs? Who picks up Gary's keys after Windows drops them and gets to the blood bags? None of these are answered, and I think it would be a much weaker film if any of them actually were. I love all those unanswered questions. That's probably why you come back to this film again and again. So for a film that is full of gore and blood and special effects, I think the writing is really strong and quite possibly the most underappreciated aspect of it.
Yeah, I also think the writing is very good on the whole. It's got a strong story, taken from the novella, of course. And it is the kind of story we've seen before. A group of people in a confined space and an alien killing them one by one. Just 3 years before this, we had Alien telling the same story, basically.
Yeah.
So we've seen it before, but Bill Lancaster adapts it well. There's not that much depth to the characters in terms of backstory or knowing much about them, but it does still work. I think that's testament to Carpenter and the cast more than the writing probably, but Lancaster does okay with the characters, I think. Where the writing really stands out though, to me anyway, is the theme of paranoia that runs from the end of the first act right until the final seconds of the film. Once the scientists know the creature can look like them, there's this undercurrent of tension and mistrust because they don't know who the thing is, and that's an outstanding concept, and it powers every scene once the film gets going.
Yeah.
This was the early 80s, obviously, where the AIDS epidemic was all over the news, so the idea of not being able to tell who's infected just by sight, only blood tests can reveal it. We see that in The Thing.
Yeah.
America was in a place where it was coming off the back of communism, McCarthyism and the Cold War, and it's been said that the narrative of The Thing reflects that as well, the idea of an enemy within, that anybody at any time can become the enemy. So it's very much a product of its time, the writing, in terms of reflecting what was going on in the West in the early 80s, which I really like. I think a slight negative for me in the writing is that it's full of contrivances and things that go unexplained, plot holes you could fly a helicopter through. But I think even that's worked in the film's favour because now there's so many theories out there all over the internet about all different aspects of it that it's still being talked about now. So, positive on the whole, slightly mixed bag in some of the writing for me, but the writing is good, but not exactly solid in terms of the story and character. And it's the theme of paranoia and reflections of the early 80s Western society where I think it really stands up still to this day.
Yeah, I think them 80s themes and the paranoia and the Western, like the ideologies that were going on then, I think that's brilliant because it's timeless.
Yeah,
it still exists. There's still paranoia. There's still you can take the themes within the thing and translate that to pretty much anything, like Matt did at the top of the episode. Like it's been in the pandemic. Oh, it's like the thing. Yeah. Or the Cold War. Yeah, it's like the thing. So it's like. It's one of them things that it's universal and it's kind of an evergreen concept. It's always gonna be there because we are as human beings are paranoid and worried about trust issues and you never really know anybody and that always works in its favour. And I do like that it has these plot holes. I kind of like that. It makes us feel like they've written it without any kind of. It's not pretentious.
No,
it's just. It's very honest to what it wants to say, and it's not doing it in a pretentious way to set up all these kind of twists and turns. I think they just wanted to tell the story and tell it in a entertaining fashion and quite quickly, so that you weren't bored. And I think doing that, you are going to miss out on plot holes. If this had been 3 hours long, I mean, if you look at something like The Hateful Eight.
Music time's over.
There's 8 characters in that, and that just seems contrived. That just seems overblown. This has got 12, and it seems quite thin. And I think that is down to the writing and how it portrays each character and each character's journey. And I'm sure Carpenter read this and just thought, I know exactly how to film this. That's exactly what I want to do. And a lot of the plot holes are visual. A lot of the plot holes are in the dialogue and the writing, but I just think they were putting this together at such a pace because they were excited about making it. That then plot holes exist, but that means it translates to the audience and it's exciting for us to watch it, and that's what makes it great.
Yeah, one of the things I do like is how it's never really fully explained how the thing works.
We have no idea what it is.
And my favourite thing about that is when someone is the thing, do they know that they're the thing? Are they like a clone of the real person? They think they are the real person until the thing sort of takes over them. I don't know. It's quite an interesting concept. I don't think that was the idea. I think it's not been 100% thought through, and that's led to that, which is a contrivance that I do like.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I don't know if it's just like a little kind of amoeba kind of thing that just floats around and lands on people. I mean, you see the spaceship crash at the start, but I like to think the thing took over whatever that life form was.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's just a tiny little thing that just kind of cribs about. It's nothing. It's just like it's not threatening at all until it assimilates something, and it's trying to assimilate the strongest or the most dominant species it can find, and then it finds man, and it's like, wow, this'll do.
Yeah. So lots going on in the writing then, and most of it very good, we think?
Well, I think so. Yeah.
Yes, very much so.
The cast of the thing has an ensemble feel. Young, inexperienced actors, a few wise old heads in there, one bona fide movie star, and Jed, the greatest actor in history.
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is.
The cast list is too big to cover them all in detail, unfortunately, so what we're going to do is talk about some of our favourites. So, Westy, who are you going to talk about? As if I couldn't guess.
Who do you think? Big RJM, the big MacReady.
Joel Paulus, is it?
No, definitely not. Yeah, the big man himself, Kurt Russell as RJ MacReady. What a character, what a performance, what a wardrobe, what facial hair, what hair, sunglasses, amazing. That look, I mean, I've tried so many times to try and achieve that, and it doesn't work. And I got to a point where I was pretty close, and you just think, well, no, I'm not in the Antarctic, and I'm not a struggling alcoholic helicopter pilot fighting an alien with a flamethrower, so it's not gonna pan out really. I'm gonna take photographs of stuff. But yeah, I think for me, this is one of Russell's best performances, if not his best performance. He completely owns this character, and he completely owns the film. He's so watchable. Every scene he's in is just heightened by his presence, even if he's not saying anything. Yeah. He's just got that real strong persona. That it's a masculine persona, but it's not an 80s masculine action star persona. It's quite flawed. It's quite, he's worried about a lot of things. He doesn't know what he's doing a lot of the time. He's panicking about things a lot of the time. People are looking at him and he doesn't want that role. He doesn't want that responsibility, but he has it, and everyone has, their attentions with him. He turns around, Mac wants a flamethrower, right? Well, get it then. Yeah. They say, he wants what? That's it. It's just there and it's done. But some of the choices he gets to wear, some of them wardrobe choices, he's got that Yosemite Sam hat which is just unbelievable. Nobody in the world could pull that off apart from Kurt Russell in the thing.
Yeah.
It's just an incredibly difficult thing to give to an actor. Right, yeah, it's a serious part of the film, by the way. You've got some serious dialogue here. You're actually going to see where the spaceship crashed, and you have to pull all that off wearing that sound. And Kurt Russell's like, yeah, not a problem. He's like, oh, by the way, you're going to have to flamethrower one of your compadres who's turned into the thing, and he's in the snow. But put a condom on your head, and we'll cut a hole out the middle. I absolutely sound, yeah, not a problem. Big goggles on. Yeah, no worries, I'll still look cool. And he pulls it off. It's just an incredible performance, incredibly watchable, and Kurt Russell, for me, is just an incredibly likeable human being. I think he just comes across as a lovely, wonderful man, and this is just a really great performance. I could just watch it over and over again, and I would hate a sequel to this. I would hate a prequel to this. I would hate any kind of extension on this character, because what he delivers in this time frame is absolutely perfect. It's wonderful.
Didn't you buy MacReady's hat, Westy?
I was fucking tempted.
How much was it again?
$1,050, I think, something like that. It was handmade.
That's
It's
how much we're
massive,
selling
you know.
those caps for. Yeah. If anyone's interested, get stuck in.
If you're interested. Yeah, I bought this instead. Imagine Russell wearing this, though. Unbelievable, that.
Oh,
I can make that. I'll make that happen. I've got Photoshop. Yeah, I'm not afraid to use it.
I know that Nick Nolte and Jeff Bridges turned the role of MacReady down, and Bill Lancaster actually wrote the script thinking of Harrison Ford and Clint Eastwood playing MacReady.
Right.
I mean, they had no chance of getting either of those then, I don't think, but I find it quite easy to imagine Harrison Ford at that time playing MacReady.
Yeah, it's like Empire Strikes Back, though, surely.
I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
Yeah, when that coat.
Yeah, and some of the dialogue from Empire Strikes Back would work better in The Thing, and I'll see you in hell. That works much better in The Thing. Yeah, see, it works.
I know that Russell went method as well, and regarding that hair and beard, it took him a year to grow it, especially for The Thing. I mean, worth every minute of that, surely.
Absolutely,
Totally.
yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
Goldie Hawn's a very lucky woman.
And on that note, Matt, who are you going to talk about?
Someone whose hair, unfortunately, is not as good. I think that
Nobody's is. That's not a problem.
Yeah, that's true. Nobody can compare. It's fine. Lots of good performances in either. I do really like Keith David.
Yes.
Wilfred Brimley is blessed, excellent. But
Yes.
I'm going to talk about
yeah.
David Clennon as Palmer, because
Yeah.
I think he's actually a really interesting character. Because at first, he seems like he's going to be the buffoon of the outfit, just sitting around, getting stoned. Everybody overlooks him for anything that needs doing. They're like, just sit down, Palmer. Someone else can do that.
Yeah.
Spouting out his conspiracy theories, they thought the ink is everything they know. Like, that's all he's got to
Dropping out
contribute.
the skies all over, man.
Chariots the guards, man. That's all he's got to contribute.
Yeah.
But then you can also see he's a pain in the arse. You can see he's got some grudge for some reason against Windows, and he won't pair up with him when MacReady wants to send them out to look for Blair. And that's kind of the point of the film, in that because these men can't get over their personal grudges, like Palmer, it makes it easy for the Thing to splinter the group and go after them one by one. So Palmer preferring to wind other people up instead of working together is key to that thing, which I think is quite clever. Mm-hmm. But it's a great performance, I think, in retrospect, once you know he's been assimilated all along, because you start to wonder, is that shifty behaviour part of its plan, or is that just him? Because you get that great scene when Knowles has cut MacReady loose at the cabin and left him behind to freeze because he thinks he might be the Thing. And the rest of them are standing around debating whether to let MacReady back in or not. And Palmer is the one character very keen to let him back in, and he says, well, it's our best chance to blow him away. Now, is that true, or does he want MacReady back in because MacReady has also been assimilated, which is obviously another question entirely, and he just wants another version of the Thing in there with him? So the thing is, a film where at first glance you think, well, there's not going to be a lot of talk about Shuley in terms of performances apart from Kurt Russell, but a performance like Clennon, you go back to it knowing what you know, I think there's a lot more going on there than meets the eye.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point as well, because the Thing itself doesn't seem to work as it's not a team player, is it? It's very much a solo effort. It doesn't want to assimilate and then assimilate and then assimilate and have 3 or 4 against them all. Yeah. It's always just one, and then it runs away to something else, and then it runs away to something else.
There's a good story as well about Carpenter and some of the cast, including David Clennon, that I like, where Clennon with Richard Masur and Thomas Waits, who played Clark and Windows, had an idea about doing a scene where Palmer and Windows would conspire against the other scientists.
Yeah.
Carpenter didn't like the idea, so said no. And the three actors went into another room and started calling Carpenter names, but their mics were still on, and Carpenter heard them. And Clennon said John was great about it. He came in and said, "I heard what you said, guys, and my reasons for not wanting to do the scene still stand. You're right, though. I am a prick." Great John Carpenter, isn't he? Everyone loves him.
Yeah, he's great.
Class
He's
guy.
fantastic.
What a man. Love him.
We can't go into all the cast in detail, which is a real shame, but they're all good. It's a real ensemble piece. And Kurt Russell, one of his best.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
John Carpenter has a reputation for being a director with a lot of visual flair and had a couple of important collaborators on the thing to help him achieve that. Director of photography Dean Cundey was working with Carpenter for the 4th time, and special effects supervisor Rob Bottin was back after working with Carpenter previously on The Fog.
Yeah.
So how does the thing look, Westy?
It looks incredible. It looks great. It's exactly how I want it to look, which is one of them rare occurrences where you just watch a film and I'm never bored by the visuals of this. It's just beautifully done. It's dark, but you see everything. It's so vast, but it's so claustrophobic at the same time. The camera moves exactly how you want it to and when you want it to. Even the opening shot, you would expect to just be this real static vista of these mountains. And it's handheld. It's really shaky. It's really, you're on edge immediately. It's just all of these different techniques that Carpenter and Cundey put into this film, where they make it so cinematic, but at the same time it feels so grounded, and it even feels quite low budget from this point of view. It feels like they've just turned up to this place and this is how it looks. It doesn't feel lit. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of production value, and that's where the main element of production value comes in, when you kind of tell it's been lit, you kind of tell it's been built, you kind of tell it looks like that. You feel like this is just a place and you are stuck there. And I think that's really, really fantastic. I'll really rate Dean Cundey, and he's one of them cinematographers that doesn't get mentioned enough. I mean, the guy did Jurassic Park, he did Back to the Future, he did Death Becomes It, he did Escape from New York and Halloween with Carpenter, he did The Fog as well. He's just an incredible cinematographer who's just one of them people who just sit and listen to John Carpenter and go, yeah, I can do that. You know, and the way he lights the effects work by Bottin as well, some of it's really brightly lit, so you see everything when it's on the table getting examined, but then when that dog's head splits open, you would expect that to be a lot darker. It's dark, but you see everything. You can still see everything, and he just kind of pays homage to how well that looks. You can tell him and Bottin have sat next to each other and just been like, how do I light this? How do you want me to light this so it looks the best? I want to make your work look the best it can look, and I want to make the actors look the best they can look. He wants to make everything look the best it can, but at the same time, make it almost unwatchable and uncomfortable, which is a mean feat, and one that I think he pulls off. It's just incredible work here, and one of them films that I'll say it's one of my favourite visually, definitely.
Yeah, there's loads of shots of like long corridors and the camera creeping down them to heighten feelings of tension and paranoia. Wide shots of the snowy wasteland gives a sense of how isolated the scientists are. I think the film has quite a muted colour palette for the most part, lots of browns and greys, which was surely intentional so that when the thing shows up, it's like an eye-popping moment, and that works fantastically well. The lighting is great as well. The scenes where it's lit by like the blues or the reds of flares. I think visually this is up there with pretty much anything Dean Cundey's done. I think he's a big part of why it still stands up so well, because it looks so good still.
Yeah, definitely.
And Matt, what about you and the visuals of the thing?
Well, I think what Rob Bottin does here is something that before you'd never seen anything like this, and even after you'd struggle to think of anything really like this. Maybe some of David Cronenberg's work, but not to the extent of what Rob Bottin does, because the way he twists the human body and a dog's body into just these like horrendous versions of what they used to be. You get a chest filled with teeth, you get a head turning into Venus flytraps, spindly little tentacles shooting out of a dog, a head stretching off a body like it's melting. The variety of looks he gets through is staggering, because it's never the same thing twice, which is amazing when you think about it. And he's only 21 when he does this, which just crazy. That's just staggering, isn't it?
He's working 7 days a week for a year, every day for a year. Doesn't have a day off.
No,
wow.
I mean, he's a lunatic, isn't he? Bottin, when you see him, he's an absolute nutter.
He's brilliant, though. He's so entertaining if you watch him in interviews. It's definitely who you want on your side.
I want you to make the thing. Right. And I went, oh my God, this is fantastic.
If his effects didn't work or they were rubbish, and Carpenter had to shoot around them instead of putting them front and centre, which he does, I don't think we'd be talking about it the way that we do.
No.
I know that they did run a bit out of time for the final creature design, which you can kind of tell because it's a bit too stationary. It is a little bit disappointing, I think. They did try a stop-motion version, which if you look online, you can find pictures of that, and that doesn't look great either, which is a shame. You know, I think if he'd had like an extra week, I think that final sequence would have been mind-blown instead of just good. But everything else, incredible.
I think it was more of a case of the energy than it was the time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He's kind of
Well,
got
yeah,
the end of it.
that's
He's like, is this all right, please?
Please let me go home and sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as well as Bottin's very young age, what's also impressive is that he's not working with an enormous budget or new technologies in the thing. He was working with existing technologies that effects teams had used for years. And just through his passion, his creativity, and being a bit of a maniac, he combines all that to create something we've not seen before. Wasn't easy for Bottin, like you said, West. He was working 22-hour days at one point, and he did end up in hospital.
Somebody take this guy to the hospital.
But the thing's a classic nowadays, and there's no way that it would be without Rob Bottin.
No,
Incredible
it would be one of them
effects work.
films where the performances, I think, would still be that strong, and they would be reacting to something that wasn't necessarily there, and we would be sitting here going, oh, it's an 8 out of 10, but if only them effects were better, this would be a masterpiece. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they are that good, so it is a masterpiece, thankfully.
Yeah. Well, talking of Rob Bottin, we have another question from Patreon.
Yep.
It's on Rob Bottin, and it's from the legendary George Anderson. So, here's George.
Georgie boy.
Hey guys, George here, and here is my question for the upcoming episode on The Thing. Many people rate this movie as Rob Bottin's best special effects work ever, and I would like to know, where does ATRM rank this among his amazing body of work? Thanks, guys.
Thanks, George. So, to give a bit of context, as well as The Thing, Rob Bottin has also worked on visual effects for films like The Fog, the Carpenter film you mentioned, The Howling, a werewolf horror movie. He designed and built the famous suit for RoboCop, and he was effects supervisor on Total Recall, among many other films. So, some filmography he's got.
Yeah.
But where does The Thing rank in all of that, Westy?
It's got to be first for me, just because of his passion and his age and his creativity, and he's just real desire to create something that hadn't been seen before. I know he did The Howling, and Stan Winston had to step in on the dogs area of The Thing, because he did that and said, one more fucking dog, I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it. I've had enough. But you can see, like, what he does and what he creates from this is just something that's just so original and can't be copied. It can't be replicated because it's pure passion. It's pure creativity. You try and replicate this, you go, yep, that's a thing. Nah, he just owns it. It's completely original. But for me, some of his work is the work that you don't really notice. I mean, that's the RoboCop suit. I mean, as far back as I can remember, seeing that on posters on the wall in the video shop, I just think, oh, that's just amazing. On the game cover, you just think, that just looks so brilliant. And it's just the design of that and just the way that turns is just incredible. Total Recall, I'm not a massive fan of. You know, effects-wise, I think you can kind of see through that, and I think you can see it's like The Thing, but on like 20%. But for me, it's his work that you don't really know that he's done, and I think he's a real impact on Seven, which a lot of people don't know that he was part of. I think the effects work he does on Seven really make that film hit home. So it's the stuff that you don't realise he's done that makes him a little bit more important. So The Thing, definitely first, Seven, and then The Howling.
Lovely. And Matt, what about you?
Yeah, total agreement. An absolute master at his craft, and I do think this is the one for me. Other ones I would mention, though, he did one episode of Game of Thrones, but it's a very famous one where Joffrey gets poisoned, which he did the make for that death scene, which is pretty
Yes.
Ah, right.
Yeah, he did that one. The
You
one
can
and
still
only
see
episode
that. Even if you've watched it once, you can see
totally
that.
can. Yeah, that's how good
You
it
see
is.
me head now, yeah?
Yeah,
Totally. And it's the only episode he ever did, and it's brilliant. Another film he did, Legend, which say what you want about that film.
Oh,
in
right,
general,
yeah.
But Tim Curry
Cruise.
is the devil. That is insane.
It's terrifying.
That's terrifying. That is fantastic.
Yeah.
I would definitely have RoboCop in my top 3 as well, but it has to be this one because, as we've said, he nearly killed himself putting this film together because he's working so hard,
And it's
7
still
days
great.
a week,
Still
sleeping on
great.
the set.
I don't do that anymore.
You know, John Carpenter turned up on set one morning, looked at him and went, you need to go to hospital. You do not look good. You know, and he gave himself pneumonia. He had a bleeding ulcer. He was dreaming about these creatures in his sleep because he's working that hard. So,
And he probably wouldn't say anything to anybody.
No,
It takes
I
Carpenter to
totally
come in and say, "Mate, how are you, man?
Yeah,
What you doing?
yeah.
We're not asking you to do this. You're just doing it off your own back."
like invincible, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
So, Sheely, for that amount of blood, sweat, and tears he literally poured into this work, and it's all up on there on screen. It has to be
It
his
is.
number one.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, a visual I love, it wasn't done by Rob Bottin, but I love the logo title at the start of the movie, how it burns onto the screen. Fantastic. It's taken, I think, from The Thing from Another World. It's very similar to that, but they've developed it and made it more modern. It looks great.
Yeah.
So, in terms of the look of the film there, and cinematography, visual effects, pretty much world-class across the board.
Pretty much world class. And you know what the great thing about it is? Nobody turns around and goes, oh, them effects are really 80s. Oh, that looks like an 80s film. It doesn't. It looks like we've just found this. It was just recorded in Antarctica at some point. We don't know when. And you're watching it. It is absolutely timeless. It's amazing.
It is timeless, And that is part 2. There's still plenty left though. Come back for our third and concluding part where we talk about our highlights from The Thing and then rate the movie out of 10. You do not want to miss that.